Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. I hope you guys are all doing very well. The Champions League games between PSG and Barcelona and Liverpool and Leipzig, those two ties are finished. They are over and two teams have been victorious. Those teams have been PSG and Liverpool. I'm going to talk about both of them in this video, and I'm excited to know what you guys think about this. It was quite tricky watching both of them at the same time because there was so much going on, and I think it was two games where one was all about the first half, the other one it felt like it was all about the second half, and there was a lot of big moments in all of it. I'm going to start off with PSG versus Barcelona because I just thought it was a fascinating game, and the first half of it, you know, goals change games, and we'll get into it in just a second. Before I do get into it, we're at, what are we on now? I think we're on 89k. We're getting close to 90k, guys. The rundown, we're coming round the last bend, okay? But let's get ourselves to 90k, and then we can start to plan the party. That is the 100k party when it comes to subscribers. So if you have got a second right now, do me a favor. If you're enjoying the content at the moment, please do consider subscribing to the channel. I'll give you 5 seconds to do it, and then we will start talking about that penalty, or both of them. Okay. Smash the like button as well if you're watching right now live, and of course if you're watching after the fact as well. Let's talk about this first game then. Let's talk about PSG versus Barcelona, because, wow. I mean, where do I start with this game? First and foremost, Barcelona, you know, after this first leg, utter mess. Seen as an utter mess. And I tell you what, Ronald Koeman has got the seeds of something really exciting there now. And in this game, I think Barcelona fans, let me know what you think of Barcelona fans in the comments, but Barcelona fans, I think their expectations had calmed down a bit. They were going into this game going, show us something. Show us something that can keep Lionel Messi at this club. Show us something that can allow us to dream that we can do well in the Champions League again. And the setup for this, from Ronald Koeman, I thought was wicked. I thought it was so good. They've been playing three at the back for the last couple of games, and it worked really well against Sevilla. It worked really well at the weekend, and I was so pleased that he stuck with it. So pleased that he stuck with it. Let me show you the stats first of all, because Barcelona absolutely dominated this game from start to finish. And actually I can show you the sort of the initial starting point in terms of the lineups here. So what they did was they had, and anyone who watches me on Twitch with Football Manager, they can see I would have seen this straight away. They played Frankie de Jong as this libero, a libero attack if you want to be specific. Played him in a back three, and then played two kind of double pivots in Pedri and Busquets. Then Griezmann played really deep. Messi had this sort of deeper role. He wasn't on the left-hand side, really. And then Dembele was on that left-hand side. And what I'm going to do for both of these games is I'm going to show you the average positions at half-time, because I think it gives you a really nice picture of what was happening in both. But with Barcelona, they came out and they dominated this game so much. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe how much, first of all, how many chances they were able to create, and then secondly, how easy they were able to win the ball back. And that's probably the big critique that you've got to have about PSG in this game for me, because PSG were terrible, absolutely terrible. I guess if we're saying that, you know, Barcelona are finished, right, then PSG should be able to keep a hold of the ball a little bit better than they did. Let's have a look at the first half. I mean, in the entire game, 27% possession to 73%. Look, I know they've just got to stop them, but in the first half, if Barcelona take the chances that they get, and if that stupid penalty doesn't get given, which I'll get into in a second, this is a completely different game. And we could have had a classic on our hands, and it got ruined by the rules. But back to those stats, they weren't able to keep the ball at all. First half, 26% possession. They made 146 passes. Only 107 of them were accurate. Unbelievable. And it was down to the shape of Barcelona. It was class. I really loved watching it. And Barcelona fans, I think they come into this and they go off the back of this and they go, this is something I could be really excited about. This is the average positions after the first half. PSG literally just staying in their own third, couldn't get out. Barcelona were absolutely fabulous with the way that they played. De Jong getting on the ball and and actually nicking the ball off Icardi at different times, but having that confidence to sort of dribble out with the ball. It was fantastic in that first half. I really love Busquets. He was actually getting on a bit, had a couple of shots. Pedri, who's so exciting. Both of those two. And what I loved was these little 5-yard pairings that kept happening, because Griezmann, who was brilliant in this game as well, certainly in the first half, dropped really, really deep. You can see it here. Messi's in front of him, and Messi's playing in this. Oh, it's gorgeous. He's just trotting about and trotting deeper and deeper and deeper. And what it does is when he starts that, it just creates so much space for everyone else. And they couldn't live with it. Dest on the right-hand side, the right back, was getting forward, as you can see, more so than Lionel Messi. He hit the bar at one point, was getting forward. He was brilliant. Kazawa couldn't deal with him at all. But the problem with Barcelona in this performance, and again, you got to concentrate on the good elements of it, because they were fantastic. But this guy, Dembele, if Dembele could have scored a goal in the first 10 minutes, I've got my notes here. So this is what I do when I watch the game. I literally just take notes of things that I think are noteworthy as we go along. Obviously, that's what notes are. And Dembele, first thing I've written there, good chances times 3, 10 minutes. First 10 minutes, he's had a couple of really, really good chances, because they seem to be able to find him in this area, as you can see, so many times. The amount of shots he had from this area, it was unbelievable. But once he'd missed 1 or 2 or 3, it felt like his head was gone a little bit and his instincts weren't right. There wasn't that sort of... It made me think, if Luis Suarez was in those positions, he scores all of them. And I think that's the top line, the bottom line really, for all of this, is that there's a lot of exciting players here for Barcelona, but the experience wasn't there. The experience in the key areas wasn't there. That said, I think Messi has to take some criticism in this. If you look at the big chances during the game, he had a bit of a nightmare, if we're honest. He scored an absolute belter of a goal. But prior to that, the game got ruined because Barcelona needed to obviously win 4-0 at best. At 3-0, I think it was. And then this penalty decision. Let's get to this penalty decision. Watch it back. When you watch it back, what you will see is that the cross comes in, Longley treads on Icardi's heel. Icardi is never going to get anywhere near the ball, and he goes down and starts rolling around, because that's football that we're watching these days. It was typical gamesmanship from a professional footballer these days. That I haven't got too much of a problem with, because it is what it is. What I've got a problem with is the rule, because the rule is going to lead to it getting completely out of hand. Because if you know that regardless if the ball's actually even coming to you, if you're actually involved in that moment in time or not, if that doesn't matter, or the fact that if something's clearly an accident or not, if that doesn't matter as well. But more importantly, if the ball's nowhere near that person, if they're never going to get anywhere near it, what you are going to see is, regardless of... we see it with someone's got the ball, they get into the penalty box and then they'll slow down a bit, take the contact, and they'll go over, and that's a penalty. That I can live with a little bit. But what you're going to see, mark my words, you are going to see this, is players bombing into the box, running in front of the centre-back, being offside, and just slowing down, taking the hit, falling over, and expecting to get a penalty. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. I've gone on these rants on Twitch recently as well. The lack of common sense is blowing my mind, and it's ruining the game. It's completely ruining the game for me. And it just gives me this sinking feeling. I'm like, why am I even watching this when stuff like that's going on? Because sport, this is deep stuff now. And don't worry, I'll move on to Liverpool in a second. Sport has to be a mirror to society, right? You hear that all the time. It's the same with the rules. There's so much subjectivity in football that there has to be an endeavour towards fairness. And penalties like that are a mess. The Griezmann one's a bit soft as well, to be honest. And Lionel Messi gets them back into the game. Let's get back to the game. Let's talk about that. With an absolute thunderbolt. The guy's a joke. And it's just gorgeous watching him get on the ball. But then the penalty comes and he misses it. And you kind of knew that he was going to miss it. And that is, as much as that penalty is a key moment and the goal from Lionel Messi is a key moment, he can't be missing penalties. And in the second half, he has an amazing chance as well, where there's an incredible block from Marquinhos, who's just world class, really. And Navas made several saves. I think we've got super chats saying about it. And Zlatan made God. As a PSG fan, everyone bottled it besides Navas. I agree. Brian Tenesaka, sorry. As a Barca fan, I'm happy. There's still work that needs to be done. We've got plenty of talent for the future, but we need to make the right moves. Yeah, look, I think the thing is, if you go, that's not a penalty, if you take away that penalty and it's not a penalty, and even if you take away the Messi penalty, at that point it would have been 1-0 because Barcelona were honestly all over them in the first half. Let's just see the shots in the first half at least, right? Because that's when it all mattered a little bit more. First half, 16 shots to 5. Unbelievable. 9 shots on target. They just couldn't finish. Dembele couldn't finish. To be honest, he was terrible. Which I don't want to say that about any player, but he really did have an absolute disaster of a game. Second half, that they knocked. But PSG, it was, to a point workmanlike. But I can't really say much about them because really the team to talk about is Barcelona in this instance, because I thought there was just massive elements of hope with a system that could see Messi thrive in the next couple of years, which I think is something that Barca fans can be delighted about, despite getting knocked out of the Champions League. But I think the big loss here is for all of us. We could have watched a game that would have been naughty in the second half. It would have been unbelievable, and we've missed out on that. And it's just poor. It's just really poor. In terms of that, Dembele, I've spoken about that. Mbappe using the space. They were looking to get him on that left-hand side. Great dribbles from him. He takes his penalty. Mingueza had a great header. Dest hit the bar. I think I spoke about that as well. But really, it's about those penalties for me. And Navas. Navas was the best player for PSG by a mile. Move on to Liverpool. And I tell you what, they needed it, didn't they? Didn't they? Just need it. And I tell you what, it was just we said this before. I did a video on the first leg, and I watched it and I was thinking, this is just the kind of game that they wanted. And a lot of the plaudits will go to Kabak and Phillips. But I tell you what, watching that game, and the game itself was, it was quite even, really. There's a couple of things that I liked about it from a Liverpool point of view. In terms of the style of the game, you had 12 shots to 11 shots, 7 shots to 2 on target. I think that's the big difference there, which highlights the sort of defence from Liverpool. The defence was so much stronger. And like I say, Phillips I thought had a good game. I thought Kabak was okay, but he does rush into challenges for me, which makes me a little bit nervous if I was a Liverpool fan. The player that I thought was just wonderful for me, and just gave so much of a great base to Liverpool, was having Fabinho back in defence. And every time, I'm looking at both of the games, every time I'm focusing on Liverpool, it was the interceptions from him. Let's have a look at this. Clearances, Klosterman, Phillips with the clearances, which is great, but that's all his focus was. He didn't have to go and win balls. Block shots, interceptions. There we go. Upamecano, a couple of notes on Leipzig. I thought Nkunku, although they went to him and he was a source of some of the good elements of it, I felt like they missed Angelino on that left-hand side, because, again, you're kind of missing out on Nkunku in a different position there. I thought that was a problem. I thought Sorloth was the right move, and when I was looking at half-time, I was having a look at the bench, and I was thinking, get him on. And then you can put some crosses in and put him under pressure, and he did hit the bar in this game. But Upamecano, you watch him and you're just like, wow, he is going to make 1 or 2 mistakes, because the amount of pressure that is put upon him in games is unbelievable. 8 interceptions, 4 tackles, 1 error which should have led to some goals. And in the first half, Liverpool should have probably put the game out of sight, to be honest. But Fabinho, I'm getting to the point now. Fabinho, I thought, was just fantastic. Fantastic. 4 interceptions, 3 tackles. It's the interceptions, though, for me. And he was just reading it. And what he did do, and we'll go to the average positions again here, what he offered this team. And what you're going to see now is some really lovely shape and pairings when it comes to the average positions. The sort of pairings that you want to see if you're a Liverpool fan. They're a little bit stretched out, and it was allowed to kind of be created a little bit better because of the way that Leipzig play, because they're able to press them. And a team that sits back. And if you look at those goals, the first goal is just a really, really good team. It's just a fantastic team goal. But it comes from this shape, the shape that's created. And the shape gets created because, for me, of Fabinho and the license that he gave the other players. Let's have a look at it. So these are the average positions at half-time. So you can see with Leipzig, they do like to press high, but a lot of their players will be in that sort of central area. And it was a really strong line here. And is it Campbell? I think Campbell was just sort of sitting on the defence here. But at the same time, they had a really high line. And Jota, we'll talk about him in a second. Jota was able to get in a few times. I think he missed 3 big chances for them. Salah had a great chance as well. Mane had a great chance as well from those balls over the top. I'm missing someone here. I don't know where he should be, but don't worry about it too much. But the focus really for me isn't Leipzig, to be honest. It's actually Liverpool. And like I said, that the base that Fabinho gives this team by having someone who is comfortable playing as that defensive midfielder is huge, right? Because when I take away all these players, what you see are, we've all watched Liverpool a lot. You've got these 2 centre-backs here, but I'll tell you what, you've got protection. You've got lovely, lovely, lovely protection. So if they do want to be concerned about going the other direction and getting on their bike, which at times there were some runners and there were a few hairy moments, then that was something they could concentrate on, because Fabinho just read situations throughout the game brilliantly. And the other thing that it allows is when he's sitting there, it means that Thiago made some fantastic passes, put a great ball over the top with this little karate kick at one point. But he had that freedom to kind of go and get on the ball a little bit more, but get on the ball with a bit of space, not as deep, a little bit further up the pitch. Again, lovely pairings here, Salah and Trent, that's what you want to see. You want to see those two working hard together. Jota, what I did like about Jota, and you can see he's a lot further away from the rest of them, but what he did was he was looking to break that line, and I think he's just got that little bit more thrust in terms of, yes, he can pop off the ball, and if you think of that the first goal, it comes from Jota laying it off, spinning round, and then creating the space. The ball then gets played to Thiago in exactly this space here. If you switched it round on the other side, it was more this way round. It was this way round, wasn't it? The ball was played to Thiago, and then Jota, he made his layoff, but he carries on his run. And that him carrying on his run, but also him creating that space, it drags them deeper. And then once he gets the ball back, Salah's on his bike and goes and finds him. And that's where the goal comes from. But the goal actually comes from an initial reading. Watch the highlights. It comes from Fabinho reading the situation and winning a header. And from there, the ball is it takes a second for it to calm down. But then there's a lovely, lovely passing move there, and they get that goal. But really, Fabinho was huge because, like I said, it allows Thiago to be the player that he wants to be in a little bit of space, to play those passes, to play counter-attacking football. Which, again, I think Leipzig kind of walk into this a lot of the time. And you've just got a team that's in Liverpool that is more drilled in this kind of football. So when those two styles come together, the quality of Liverpool, I think, has shone through in these 2 games. And then it also allows someone like Wijnaldum to go and play on that left-hand side and just do the work that he's always done. That I think what you see the best of Wijnaldum for me is on this left-hand side doing that work with Mane and Robertson. And he was able to do that. And so, like we said, I thought the shape of Liverpool was so much better. The final thing I would say on Liverpool would be is one, I thought Origi was great when he came on. But secondly, I said this in the recent match reaction, is I do wonder if there is going to be that possibility of just cultivating a deeper line, just so that you can create that space over the top. Because the second goal, for me, if you watch that second goal back, it kind of gets played into their own hands again. I know it's a great cross, and like I say, Origi thought it was great when he came on, but the movement and his ability to get on that ball in that moment in time came from Leipzig sort of over-pressing. The problem that Liverpool are going to have, and I think they might have Leeds next, which would be perfect for them, but that when they come back to playing those teams that are going to sit back and defend, is that that press from the defence is not going to come like it has come in this. So again, I still feel like there could be a cuter way for Liverpool to counter-attack if they were able to play that little bit deeper. But I'm not sure that's in Klopp's makeup. You've got Fabinho back there, and I guess, you know, that those are just the principles of the way that Klopp plays. Jota, really strange from him in terms of his performance, because, you know, I'm not going to say he's better than Firmino, but what he does is he's a lot more dynamic and he runs forwards, and you see that from the average positions here. But what you do lose from him is his ability on the ball, because in terms of, I think it's passing, we'll find it here. Jules, here we go. Possession lost. Now, Trent, we expect him to be up there. Jota, 25 times he gave the ball away. And look, who cares, right? If it's good enough for the team and it allows you to win more games. But that will be something that I think they will want to kind of improve a little bit. But like I said, I think it's about Jota being that little bit more direct than a Firmino. And so those things are going to happen a little bit. And if he is going to lose the ball 25 times, but they still, you know, he still creates 3 big chances for himself and he ends up taking 1 or 2 of them, then I think you'd be happy with that, wouldn't you? 959 people watching right now. If you are watching for the very first time and you've enjoyed this tactical analysis on these 2 games, which I thought were both really interesting games, in particular the Barcelona and PSG game, then do me a favour, as I said at the start of the video, please do hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next live that I do, which will hopefully be Arsenal versus Spurs. And of course, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get ourselves to 100k as soon as possible. We've had an amazing week. Cheeky flex, 8k subs in a week. I don't know what's going on, guys, but I'm enjoying it. And I hope you are as well. So if you are, please do consider subscribing. Man of the match, Barcelona game. I think, do you know what? I thought he really saw something in Serginho Dest. Oh, actually came off, didn't he, after a few minutes? Do you know what? Probably Navas, because if Navas isn't saving those, then there's no way they're going through. And for Liverpool, I've spoken about him. Fabinho, I thought was just so influential in the base of that midfield, and it's a good sign for Liverpool, the fact that they're starting to have that DM that just wants to sit there and go and win the ball and do what Fabinho does is massive for Liverpool here. Calgon, hello fella, loving the vids, Jim. Bet Dadcott loves Philip's style of defending. Treat for you in Discord from the kickoff tonight. Okay, I'll have a look. And that's all the super chats. Right, guys, thank you so much. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys very